everyone, welcome to Sock Season Week 11, December 10th through 16th, 2023. I'm Carol, host of A Stitch in Time, and I can be found on Ravelry as Knits and Pearls. Even though winter doesn't officially begin here in the Northern Hemisphere until next week, all of the socks I'm going to show you today have a wintry theme. Starting with my first pair, which I call Stepping into Winter. The name of this pattern is actually Stepping into Fall, and it is by Sylvia Harding. However, when I knit these back in November of 2017, I chose some yarns with a more wintry feel, hence the name. These socks are mainly knit from leftovers of Knit Picks Essential, or Stroll as it's called now. And I do believe one of these stripes has been done up in Fildar Preface, but I can't remember which one. All of the projects that I talk about today will be linked below, and I'll also provide links to the Ravelry group and to the blog. So why don't I bring these in closer, and then you can see all the different yarns and textures. It was a really fun sock to knit because you were constantly changing colors and stitch patterns. I believe these were knit from the toe up. This is one of my favorite Knit Picks colorways of all time. It just has such a frosty, wintry feel to it. I can't remember the colorway name. I'll put it down at the bottom of the screen, but I think it has something to do with snow. So the only bad thing about these socks is they are a little bit loose on my feet. I think because all of the textured stitch patterns take up more yarn and made for a bigger sock in the round. They're also a little bit longer than my usual sock in the cuff, but you know, that's not too bad, not much at all. Despite that, I do enjoy wearing these socks. I think they're just so, I don't know, cozy looking. And so yeah, it's going to be a great way to kick off the week. I didn't even think about it, but yeah, if I have them on my feet, I totally can kick it off. That's a bad joke. Sorry, not intended. Back in the summer of 2022, I knit my second Snowmelt Shawl, which is a pattern by Helen Stewart of Curious Handmade. This time I used a half skein set from Fiber Nymph Dye Works in the bounce base called Winter Palette. And it consisted of 5 tonal skeins or half skeins and then 1 variegated, which incorporated all of the other colors into it. And I just had a ball knitting this shawl. I'm a poet and I don't know it. And I just love how it turned out. So I had some leftovers, and of course I had to make myself a pair of scrappy socks. And this is the result. I love them. I love all the colorways. I love how they work together. I think because of the way that different colorways were dyed, there are less hard edges between the stripes, like you get with some scrappy socks or some self-striping skeins. This has more of a soft watercolor feel to it. I knit these from the toe up and did a German short row heel. And before I started, I divided the leftovers in half, and then I figured out how many rounds I could get and figured out how many rounds I could do per stripe of each color, and then just worked my way up to the top. And then I used the remainder of the variegated skein for the cuffs. So I'm going to bring this in much closer so you can see how lovely these look. it's always a real treat when you get more than one project out of a skein or out of a set. And I love having scrappy socks to remind me of some of the projects that I've done. So yes, I will be wearing these on Monday this week. The third pair of socks for this week is brand new. I just finished knitting these and have not yet worn them. I knit these socks from the Day 25 skein from last year's Fiber Nymph Dye Works Holiday Countdown collection, The Art of Contrast. The colorway name is Midwinter Mountain Morning, and it is on the Dream MCN base. I had some leftover wisp from a mini skein in the bounce base, and I used that to do coordinating heels. Just for fun, I decided that I would do something different with the narrow silver gray stripes that ran throughout the skein. So what I ended up doing is knitting the first round and then purling the rest of that colorway, and then I switched back to knitting when it switched to a different colored stripe. And I don't know if I would do it again, but it was a fun way to kind of break up the striping and just make the socks more interesting to knit. I did not do the purl rows on the foot, however. I didn't think it would be that comfortable. So let me bring these in. I knit these from the top down, following my usual top down vanilla sock pattern. So 2x2 rib, then you can see the purling, and it's not perfect because of course with self-stripping yarn, it doesn't begin and end in exactly the same spot, but I don't think it's too bad. It's no more distracting than when a skein, I think, is knit in stockinette. Certainly doesn't bother me. And I'm the one that matters because I'm going to be wearing them. So some really pretty colors in the skein, and definitely will brighten up a winter day. Now you will notice that this week I'm also foregoing the model shot and just showing all of the socks to you on sock blockers. All but one pair this week are also stripy socks, so they don't look much different on my foot than on the sock blocker. So we've just had a colorway inspired by a winter morning, and now we have one inspired by a winter night. In fact, I call these socks for a winter's night, and they are knit from Raven Frog Fibers Bare Feet, spelled B-E-A-R, which I thought was really cute. And the colorway is Dark Winter Nights. I bought this skein of yarn back in the summer of 2010 when I went on an Alaskan cruise with my parents and my siblings and their spouses to celebrate my parents' 50th anniversary. And I bought this skein and another in Ketchikan. So it took me a long time to finally knit it up. I didn't do so until March of 2022. And what a shame, because it is gorgeous. And the yarn is really lovely too. It's a merino cashmere nylon base. So I don't think you can see it from way back there. So I'll bring it closer so you can see all the subtleties of those purple tones, purple and black. I love how it knit up in those beautiful micro stripes. I did a short row heel so that I wouldn't interrupt the way that the yarn was knitting around the gusset area. I don't remember if I have written it in my notes. I probably pulled the yarn from the other end of the ball, which is usually what I do in this case. So yes, I love wearing these. They're so soft and there's just such a beautiful color. I'm not sure, maybe it does. It's always tricky how the camera picks up the different colors, but I think this is doing a pretty good job. My next pair of socks is knit from another Fiber Nymph Dye Works winter inspired colorway. In this case, it's called Winter Play, and it has been dyed on the bedazzled base. And I'm not sure if the camera will pick up all of the sparkly goodness, but in real life, these socks just shimmer and they're gorgeous. So this is my usual top-down 64 stitch plain vanilla sock with a traditional heel flap and gusset. And this skein was one of the ones that I had set aside for my personal sock yarn club back in 2022. I knit these in, let's see, January. So that was a good way to start off the year. So once again, I will bring these in a little bit closer so you can get a better look at the colorway. Oh yeah, you can see how very sparkly they are. I love that. It's just like frost when the sun hits it. So I look forward to wearing these. I don't know, one day this week. I've lost count. The next pair of socks was knit from one of my very favorite winter-inspired colorways back in March and April of 2020. Do you remember back then, the beginning of the pandemic? In some ways it seems forever ago, and in other ways it seems like just yesterday. This is Biscot Yarns Bis Sock in the colorway Mon Pays c'est l'hiver, which means my country, it is winter. And those words are taken from a song by a very well-known French-Canadian poet, songwriter, singer, Gilles Vigneault. And I just love everything about these socks. I like the sentiment behind them, and I love the colors. And I love how they knit up. So this was a top-down traditional heel flap and gusset sock also. And as you can see, it alternates between red and white solid stripes and then a speckly icy blue stripe. Unfortunately, over time, with washing, the yarn, or the red has run into the white yarns, so it's a little more pink than it used to be, but I don't care. I adore this pair of socks, and I look forward to wearing them this week. My seventh and final pair of socks this week was also knit from a Fiber Nymph Dye Works winter-inspired colorway. This is on Frozen Pond, dyed on the Bounce base, which is an 80-20 superwash merino nylon blend. Once again, I did a top-down plain vanilla sock, and I used a mini skein in the Wisp colorway to do coordinating heels. As I noted in my project notes, the socks are almost identical, except this one has a little bit of frostbite on the toe. I knit these back in August and September of 2021. So I'll bring that in closer so you can see this really lovely tonal aqua stripe, which alternates with the navy stripes and then these silvery gray speckled stripes. So a great pair of socks to finish out the week. And with that, it's time to bring sock season week 11 to a close. If you enjoyed this content, please do like and subscribe. And if you'd like to see more knitting and crafting, be sure to check out regular episodes of A Stitch in Time. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next week.